Welcome to another inspiring edition of the Brandi Jo Show, your weekly dose of wealth and wisdom for a prosperous financial life. And here's your host, Brandi Jo Newman.
First of all, thank you for doing this. Such quick notice. When I saw I think we connected on LinkedIn.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I'm fascinated by all this stuff. I believe in the woo-woo. When
Awesome.
I spent a lot of time touring around the world in my 20s, so I got to see lots of different cultures and meet so many different people that had so many different philosophies and beliefs and just something different than growing up in the Tri-County area of East Texas, which is Longview, Tyler, and Kilgore. So just manifesting and creating the life that you want, I was in from as soon as I heard that. And then,
Nice.
Being an athlete, being a professional tour player, there was always kind of this disconnect between, what I want to see and how I want to perform to, actually getting it done. And it took me a little while, but then all of this manifesting, all of this, this want and desire and this image of what we want to create, can do with anything. And I love that I found you and I found your book and that you reached out. And so we could do this with money. I said this the other day in a reel that I did, that you can manifest, basically your deepest driving desire. So
Everything. Yep.
So let's talk. Let me find you. Where are you? Where did you go? There you are. There we are. So let's talk a little bit about your background first.
Okay.
How did you get into the financial services industry?
Well, it was back in 2005. I started working with MetLife. I had moved from New York. I'm originally from New York. I was 26 years old. My first love was to try to be an actress and a model, but you can imagine everyone in New York wants to do that. So I said, well, you know what? I have a finance degree. I graduated college early just so I could go try to do this acting modeling thing. And I was like, well, 26 years old now, it's not really happening. So let me go use my brain this time. Found MetLife, moved up to like a small town in Pennsylvania, up in Scranton, total culture shock. And then I really liked what I was doing. I'm like, this is kind of fun, but we were doing mostly insurance. And I'm like, I want to kind of put plans together, not just sell people policies, just sell policies, how it was back in the day.
Yeah. I started in 2003 and that's, okay. I started in 2003 with planning and it wasn't planning. It was showing them some fancy charts and everything. At the end of the day, we were building them, substantial life insurance policies with absolutely no benefit in the first 15 years. It was horrible. I started in the game in 1996. I was 23.
Okay. Oh, nice. That's when I graduated high school. Yeah. Great. And like life insurance is great and it has a great place, but this was just like, okay, here, take this policy, put into this. I'm like, what is the point of this? So then I got more interested in financial planning, moved around different times. And then I was like, this is the best job ever. I got the same thrill and passion as I did from acting and modeling. And I thought nothing would make me feel that good because I was like, there's no way. That's my love. I'm never going to find anything. But just the way, the experience, how we get to help people, it's always something different. You never know what's going to happen each day. It could be scary. There's like times of drought, especially in the beginning. And then when it's good, it's really good. And it's just great to help people. So I decided to write a book. When did I get that idea? In 2018, my spiritual person I was working with, she's like, you're going to write a book. I'm like, about what? She's like, spirituality and money. I'm like, are you out of your mind? I'm like, I can't show my woo-woo side. They'll think I'm crazy.
Okay. So let's talk about, so this is a spiritual coach.
Yes.
Okay. So what was the catalyst to hire that person?
Oh, it was in, 2017. I had met her. It was always with me. It's like, it's either money or guys. So I was having guy issues. And I went to the mall. For some reason, I just said, go to the mall. I'm like, I don't want to go to the mall. Why am I getting told to go to the mall? So, and like, that's just like your intuition, your intuitive hits for people out there who aren't woo like us.
Yeah.
And then I went there, and then I met this like one lady, this one intuitive. And I'm like, this woman is not like the other people. She's definitely has something with her. And then I sat down with her, and then she's like, I do these sessions like weekly, monthly, whatever you want to do. If you want to work with me, I'm like, you know what? Sure. Let me do this. And I worked with her for about like 5 years. And she taught me the prayer that I put in my book, and it really just made me kind of open me up spiritually and everything. So it was a great thing. And since she said that, you're going to write that book, I'm like, well, I better go get some credentials behind my name. I'm like, I know I'm smart. My friends know I'm smart, but the whole world, I don't think they're ready. Like, let me get the CFP, which, is like no easy task.
It's
and I'm
not. And I'm one of these nonconformists. See, I go in the opposite direction of letters behind my name. I went to college for like 2 weeks, literally 2 semesters. And I was like, this is not for me. And I'm just, just like on Friday, I was shooting clays, and I didn't have, I had my sunglasses on, but I hate ear protection because I'm already deaf. It's not going to kill me anymore. And this lady is trying to get me to put on ear protection. And my friends that I'm with, they're like, you're such a rebel. I said, I'm a nonconformist.
Yeah.
So
you would agree with her. So her name was Lynn. And that's what she said. She's like, you don't need that. I'm like, no, I do. You don't understand.
Right.
I'm
So
like,
it's a value to
Yeah,
you.
to you,
It has nothing to do with anybody else.
Yeah.
It's a value to you. And I appreciate that. Absolutely.
But, yeah.
So you get your CFP, and that takes a little while.
Yeah. I actually quit midstream because I freaked out because I let someone tell me, like, I signed up for the course. It was the investment planning course. And he's like, the guy registered me. He's like, I did this, and I quit right then. It was so hard and so difficult. So I was like, okay. So I went through 10 chapters. I'm like, whoa, it was just insane stuff we don't use every day in our practice. I'm like, yeah, I can't do this either. I'm like, I don't want to fail. So I quit for 3 years. Then I got the inkling again. I think I was talking to another friend who was a CFP, attorney, accountant, and was going for a CFA. I'm like, he's like, you could do this. I'm like, you know what? I can't do this. I'm like, I'm not a quitter. Who quits? So I just rushed through. Like, I think I finished everything. I had 2 courses, a review course, the capstone, and I did it in that was January. I passed the CFP that November of 2019. So
Excellent.
But and you're right. In all essence, I don't really know if it makes a difference. I think I only lost.
I think it does. I think it does for marketing and exposure. So again, this is Friday, sitting down at the clay shoot, and it's an oil and gas charity event. Okay. For a scholarship. And my friend invited me. She's president of Pipeliners here in San Antonio. Okay. So I'm shooting with 3 ladies that are in the oil and gas energy industry, and sit down next to a guy that works for Texoga, which is the Texas Oil and Gas Association. And, we get introduced, and he says, who are you with? Because, everybody in the oil and gas business is with somebody. And if you're not the guy or the gal that's the owner of the company, you're with somebody. And he says, who are you with? And I said, I'm not in the oil and gas industry. I am a boutique solo planner. And he says, are you a CFP? And I said, nope. And he goes, well, are you a fiduciary? And so, he knows his talk.
Terms,
And I said, yes. I said, anyone who holds a license these days, industry wide, you are mandated to be a fiduciary. He says, okay, well, that's good. Sweet guy. But that was the first time I had ever been asked if I was a CFP. And I've been doing this for 27 years.
Yeah. Mine was, I think it was like 18 when I'm in the business 18 years, but a few years ago, one lady, I met her, I think it was during the pandemic. She's like, oh, you're not a CFP? I'm like, no, I'm studying stuff and I know who to ask. So I was like, whoa, I'm like, okay, I guess you're right. So for marketing purposes, and that one woman and that one guy.
Because you're what? $3,000, it goes to some excellent commercials.
Yeah, exactly. And plus,
it makes a difference. It does. Yeah. It's a designation.
And then I continue educating myself too. Like, I'm a part of Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisory Group. I think there's like 500 of us in the country. I'm also just joined David McKnight's Power of Zero group. So I'm always trying to educate myself, and it's just like,
Good. Okay, so your spiritual lady, what do you call her? Coach?
Her name is Lynn. Yeah.
Lynn. Okay, so Lynn, your spiritual guide tells you that you should you should write a book.
Yeah. She's like, I see you writing a book. I'm like, you're crazy. So I'm like, what is it? She's like, spirituality and financial planning. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm like, and then I put it aside. I wrote like one page, I think, with all my frustrations, because at that point I was frustrated with the industry, like about being independent versus being captive. And if you're in like the different IMOs, and they said, you're independent, but no, you're not, because you got to give us your IRA business. I'm like, then how is that really independent?
Right.
And then I stopped that.
Total BS.
Yeah. So that was a whole little rant I had in the first book. And then I was like, pandemic hit, and I lost my fear. I was always afraid of losing it all and like having nothing. And then as soon as the pandemic hit, I was like, okay, this is going to be fine. Money's just going to flow to me. It's easy. And then that's when my practice became national. And I was told my story about being locked in a parking garage because I had no money. And I was like, whoa, this is scary. And then people were attracted to that. They're like, I had one person out in California. I'm like, why did you decide to meet with me? She's like, because you're real. She's like, I resonated with your story. I liked your presentation. I was like, and she's like, I love that you manifest and you talk about all this stuff. She's like, I can't really find any advisors that are into this. I was like, ooh, that's when I knew I was onto something.
Yeah.
So
That's great. I love it, because I think, CFP, whatever. I think that's great for industry knowledge, but when it comes right down to it, we're listening to people and we're trying to empathize with them.
exactly.
I don't, and when you hire these marketers to help you build your business, they're like, well, you've got to tell your story. And my story connects with people that mostly are golfers and mostly that aspire to be better at golf than they already are, but knowing that they've got some money implications that maybe they're not making the most of their money. So I'm a maximum potential gal, pushing the envelope, alternative assets, all of that. But I do think you need that foundation. And I tend to just completely stay away from the 401ks and the managed money. That is not my deal. I think that you can manifest more money focusing on cash flow, because this whole bucket scheme of just put money in the bucket and watch the bucket, it hasn't worked. It's never worked. People get wealthy because they invest in cash flow and they invest in people. And then that cash flow that goes to the people, and then it grows throughout the community. So it is a spiritual path for the money. I love talking about the woo woo.
Yeah. It's
okay.
So you're the things that I've manifested and what I've done for clients, it's like, oh my God, that is so cool.
Yeah.
I get so happy, like, even though like I manifest great things, but when I do for other people, I'm like thrilled when it comes true. I'm just like, it's like, feels like it's me. And I just get so happy for them. And it's,
So tell me about your first book. Is that the book right
there?
there?
Oh, that's the one on the bottom. Yeah, that was
Spiritual Path to Prosperity.
Yeah, the Spiritual Path to Prosperity. I like the second one a lot better. I'm biased.
Because you got better.
Yeah, right? I got better. I have more stories to add. I talk about some different things. A lot of the basic still stuff, I basically repurposed it and added a new section like on women, how to handle money. I put a money blocks quiz in this one. There's just the money blocks in the first one, but no quiz. I talk about the different types of personalities you have with your money. The people, their success stories of using the prayer and what they've manifested. And then I think I left out annuities last time, so I threw a chapter in on there.
Good.
Yeah, because my whole philosophy is kind of like you. I like the 401k just up into the match, but seriously, you're never going to make enough money to support yourself just putting in the 401k. And you need to have tax-free assets, because as you know, we're in trouble. $31.5 trillion of debt. It doesn't matter who's the president, whatever's happening, the tax rates have got to go up. So,
well, in 2026, they automatically go up, and then 2033, Social Security is, gone.
Yep, they're going to cut it down to 24% of currently, unless they do something differently. Everyone's benefits going to get cut.
What was that?
Everyone's by 2032 or 2033. They said a couple of weeks ago, the everyone's benefit is on Social Security now is going to be cut by 24%.
That's not what they should be doing.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for just a little bit, because I like to give people actionable tasks that they can go do right after the episode or during the episode.
Okay.
Okay. So but let's talk about Social Security real quick, in the fact that they have to do something. So not very many, well, I shouldn't say that. Some people don't pay into Social Security. And so that's where I think something should be done. You only pay on Social Security up to a certain amount of money that you make. And so I think the Social Security should actually be kind of the precursor to the flat tax, that there's a set amount of money that you put into Social Security. Just like there's a set amount of money that you put into your 401k, there's a set amount of money that you put into your system. There's a set amount of money that you need for a capital expense or a capital infusion. They being whoever, there needs to be more people paying into the system at a much greater depth, because Social Security is capped. Because we all, well, me, I'm not going to put you in my logo. I paid Social Security, but again, and I won't share this on my podcast, but my wife and I, we make a certain amount of money because we have, or I have, or the people that I associate myself with, the people that I hire, we have figured out the tax code. And so a business is only going to pay so much in tax, and someone is going to pay personal tax on a set amount of money. So we pay ourselves a certain amount of money, and it's not a lot. Looking at us personally on paper, we're not rich, but we do own a lot of businesses. And so we own nothing, but we control everything. And so I think if they just took the Social Security Act and reworked it to where everybody paid in to the maximum of what they earn. Now you're going to see some people making some moves, but I think if they just blanketed it across the entire population, certain age to certain age, to pay into the system, because we do need to take care of us. And we've been on the teat for so long that I don't think there's any way to get it back down to a local community level to where we help each other. The way that life insurance actually started back in the tribal years. That it was a shared cost among the community to take care of not only the elders, but the survivors from their partners and their spouses, and however they did that.
I don't know what the answer is for Social Security, but back when it first started, what was it, 1934, 33 with Roosevelt? There was a lot, people weren't even expected to live that long. So they might have, if they even made it past life expectancy, which I think was 62 or something, or 65. I have my numbers mixed up.
It was between 62 and 65, and now it's 78. In America, it's over 82 in Australia.
So there's less, like, people were less likely to actually go on the system. And people they just died. Now there's so many workers, there's 42 workers for every one person. So there's an imbalance. So I think that's what it is too. So maybe along the way they should have adjusted it, and they kind of borrow from it to pay for everything else. And Social Security is one of the biggest expenses with Medicare, as well as the debt. So I don't know what the answer is to do. And people don't want to be politically unpopular. So they probably will just keep kicking it down the road until they can't kick it anymore.
I'm okay with being politically unpopular, but they don't want to elect me.
But something should be done. And then people could do something too. Like, that's what our job's too, to help them, because you could, another thing is, some people aren't aware of this. When they get to start taking Social Security, it can be taxed up to 85% of their Social Security. And then if your Social Security becomes taxed, you run out of your money 5 to 7 years faster, like your retirement accounts. Because where are you going to pull the money to pay the tax? Where does America have their money? Inside their 401ks, their IRAs. So you go there and you got to pay a tax to get that money out. So having positioned your assets somewhere else. Oh, sorry.
Then on top of that, people forget that at some point in the future, one of the spouses will be filing as a single filer. And then your lower standard of deduction. So you have all this extra money. So so keeping that's, you have to position the money. You talked about buckets. Like, I look at the taxable bucket, which you only want to have about 6 months emergency fund in there.
your tax deferred bucket, which you want to have only enough in there. So for like a married couple, maybe 350,000. So that way the standard deduction kind of makes that money coming out tax free, and your Social Security isn't taxed. Now, if you have a pension and you don't have a lump sum option, then you're kind of stuck. You're gonna have to pay tax on your Social Security. But there's ways you could plan before you get to retirement to start shifting assets to tax free. And like you said, cash flow is always good too. But cash flow, like the rental income, that does count as provincial income when they look to tax the Social Security. But I'm sure there's other things you could do, maybe like different alternative investments, and that's what you do.
Well, and I interviewed a lady last week. Her podcast was released on Saturday. Her name is Sally Gimmon. She does spendthrift trusts.
Okay.
It is a nice big ticket item to invest in. You want to be in the millions to invest in this, and not invest in it, put it in place. It's $20,000 to institute this trust with this particular firm that she works with. But basically it's an alleviation to capital gains tax. And when people talk about rental income, oil and gas, royalties, leasing, crypto, it's a way for the trust to basically insulate the capital gains tax. But again, nothing about any of this. And this is what I tell people. It's, people kind of, they're like, okay, I want you to coach me on how to make money. Okay, well, we need a business.
Yeah.
And the first thing I say is that this is hard. Not only do you have to build a business, you've got to build cash flow. You've got to trust so many people. And then you have to have all these little pieces to the puzzle to where the government doesn't get all of your money.
Yeah.
And it's just, I wish it was simple. Like, I wish somehow I could build a system where I was no longer, making money off of people trying to keep their money. That I had basically built a system to where my business no longer existed, because it's so hard when you have all of the pieces. And so that's why I like, very simple 1-page plans. So let's go through your process for how a client comes on board and goes through your process.
Sure. Well, ideally, I love to do like financial plans for everybody, but some people, they don't want to plan. Some of them just come to me for, okay, just manage my money. And I said, okay, yeah, I could do that. But also we got to manage for taxes. So that's the biggest thing. So then if they don't do a full blown plan, I kind of give them a full blown plan, but not in the traditional way. I say, okay, well, let's go through this. Let me position your assets. Let's see, because taxes are going to be the hugest killer. Tax and healthcare costs in retirement are your biggest enemies. So I show them. So I basically give them, like you said, like a 1-page plan. Like, here's the plan. You don't want a big full blown page. And then most people, you're right, they don't look at those plans. They put them on the shelf, and what do they do with them? And plans are constantly changing because everything's changing. Tax codes change everything. So I show them, here's a roadmap. This is how we're going to get you to as close as possible to the 0% tax bracket in retirement. Like I said, some folks, we can't get them there, but getting them as close to being as tax efficient as possible is the main focus of how I try to help my clients. And if some still want to listen to that, well, at least I did my job. I educated them. I showed them the importance of also not having all your money in the market, because market volatility, you want to have a nice guaranteed income stream in the future that's protected. So who cares what the market's doing? Because like, when you get to retirement, the game changes. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It's all about how much money do you get to keep, and do you have enough to pay cash flow to pay your bills? Because there's something I'm sure, your listeners might not be aware of, sequence of returns. It doesn't matter when we're accumulating money. And sequence of returns is like, depends on, okay, if you have 3 negative years in a row, when you start taking out money, withdrawing, you're going to run out of money. Whereas if you get those 3 years at the bottom, you're still going to end up with more money. And you can't predict when that's going to happen. Nobody can predict what the market's going to do every year. So you want to kind of balance for that. So that's what I look at too.
People get off track, and they get, I think they get blundered by this average rate of return BS.
Yeah.
I had a great mentor, Norm Baker.
Oh, okay.
He would tell his story about average rates of returns, and you'd be in a cocktail party with him, and somebody would say, well, what's the average rate of return for whatever fund? Or index or whatever. And he says, it's funny about average returns. He says, my wife and I, we average about 10 miles running every week. And Norm is this humongous man, like, 6'7", probably pushing 300 pounds. There's no way this man is running. And they're like, what do you mean you average 10 miles? Well, my wife runs 20 and I run 0.
Yep.
And that average is 10. And so when you look at that on a long enough time horizon, I was talking with a gentleman this weekend that we're now into the 30-year retirement band, basically. 62 to 65. I know some people that are 92 to 95 and they retired at 62. And they're not in the go phase of retirement, but they are still kicking and thriving and traveling, but they planned accordingly. But if you have, and I saw it the other day, we did a time horizon on 15 years. In the first 5 years, there were 2 negative years. I think it was year 2 and year 4. So same amount of money, same people, different times. One guy, and I think it's a tale of 2 brothers is what the presentation is. 15 years, 2 brothers, just $500,000, growing at 8.5%. Brother A had green positive returns in the first 5 years. Brother B had 2 negative years in the first 5 years. Brother B didn't make it to retirement. He had to depend on brother A in the end. So that's the biggest issue that I see. And it's like, why are these people, this is what I always am just so frustrated and bewildered about. It's like, here's a product. Now, I'm not saying all eggs in one basket, but I am a big a third.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's guarantee a third of it.
Yeah, exactly. But people hear all these negativity.
Have some fun with another third.
Yeah.
And then let's be civilized and balanced and educated and prudent and wise with the other third.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And some people, like, that's the hardest part, is telling, because somebody they have in their head, they hear, oh, this is bad. This is bad. Like, why is it bad? So I guess, like, on our part too, I guess I could always ask better questions.
Annuities have too many fees.
That there's so many different types of annuities. Annuities I sell, they don't have a fee associated with it, like a charge. You pay for an assets under management. Everything you pay for has a fee. Like, there's no free lunch
for everything.
Yeah.
And here's another one. Well, I don't believe in life insurance.
Yes, well, it exists. Do you believe in gravity? Like, kind of not.
Like, well, I didn't know that life insurance was a religion. I mean, we can get into that whole other stuff about non-belief, but it's like, okay. And I would much rather hear that in the first phone call with them. Be like, okay, I'm not going to follow up with this person.
Because people have been told, they don't even know why. They have all these stories, these things, these money blocks, things clearing. My parents and life insurance is bad. This is bad. Susie Orman says this is, it's like, okay, well, how do they get paid? Like Susie Orman, like advertisers, like what benefit do they have? So it's
you got to be careful who you're listening to, the uncle, the cousin, the Ramsey, the Orman.
Yeah. The internet search. It's like, okay, are they legitimate? What are they? Are they credentialed? Are they in the field? Like, what is their expertise? Are they just some random person who doesn't know anything about anything and just talking their opinion?
What I found, Diane, is that if you're speaking their language, with a target market, like I like to work with people that are, super high risk, they're betting on black and then they're taking a chip and they're throwing it on 00 every once in a while. They're all in on what they want to manifest. And they have this vision and they see themselves, doing these things. It's funny. You mentioned, you wanted to be a model and an actress. I watched Call Me Kate over the weekend, the documentary on Katharine Hepburn. And the only thing that she wanted to be was famous. Like she didn't care what it was. She just wanted to be famous because she had this vision of her life.
That's maybe really fun then too, because I want to be in front of big audiences. Now I want to be like Tony Robbins, like getting up there, motivating people.
Yeah. And we have these visions, and these visions are given to us by God, the universe, however you want to categorize it. I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, but like when I look at my phone, just like a while ago this morning, I fried fish yesterday for Mother's Day, and my fryer quit in the middle of it. And then we had to go old school with an iron skillet and a big old flame. And I'm sitting there, I'm looking at the electric fryer that I have. We've had it for a couple of years, and I'm going, I should just get rid of that. That's just going to annoy me when I see it again, and then it doesn't work again. And then I turn around and I grab my phone, and my angel number is on the phone. 11 is my angel number.
Okay.
And that tells me that I should get rid of the fryer.
Yeah.
Now that is, people
that's
are
definitely
like,
confirmation. Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
And yesterday was the first day that Mercury retrograde was over. So now things should be going smoother. So all the electronics and the eclipse season, everything was crazy. This one brought up a lot of issues I noticed personally, like, okay, a lot of stuff, and it healed some other stuff. And I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't work on that. That's not healed yet. So it's like a time for us to go back and like, okay, what do we need to finish? Because now we closed out that cycle. And then my birthday's tomorrow. So this is my emerald year. So
that's
now
right. I saw that on LinkedIn. Happy early birthday.
Thanks. So it's like, and a lot of people are going through. I asked all my friends who are holistic like us, and they're like, yeah, that was freaking heavy energy. I'm like, what the heck? I thought I've come so far. And I'm like, I'm sitting here. And then luckily now I know the tools, so I don't fall back that far. I just like, okay, well, is this really true? Like, who says this?
Okay. So I'm glad you're going there. We had the solar eclipse, I believe in April. And then we had
May 5th too, or something. There was something happening on May 5th.
Right. So that's what I'm getting to. So we had the solar eclipse, I want to say like April 20 something. Then we had the full moon, May 5th around noon. And then we had the full lunar eclipse that night. So I have a crypto guy, Bill Noble. He believes in all that. And so what he did, he took those 3 occurrences in that amount of time, put them into the Chat GPT, and all of these geopolitical global strife events happened in history within 97 days of solar eclipse, full moon, and lunar eclipse within that certain amount of time frame. And the other thing with it, because I'm a big moon person, my meditation teacher, David G, his birthday was May 5th, and it was a full moon. And he was telling us in his webinar that day that this is not the full moon where you go explore and you allow these other things to come in. This is a full moon phase where you just need to batten down the hatches, make sure you're prepared, make sure you got all of your stuff in line.
Yeah.
This is make sure you got your shit together full moon. And so you'll kind of see some stuff go haywire.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, like, what's happening? I'm like, why am I like bringing up these old patterns and stuff? Fortunately, the money pattern didn't come. That was good. I'm like, okay, that I got covered. But it was just like the personal, like, relationship things that I have, like this anxious attachment style that I was like, it really came back. I'm like, what the heck? I thought I saw that. I'm like, I'm good. I'm like, oh boy, here we go again.
Yeah, it's just a reminder that you just got to stay strong and just keep reminding yourself that you're a badass. I mean, that's every morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've attracted these cool spiritual people. Like just yesterday, I attracted this guy, and I was like, did like God send you to me? Because I'm like, you're saying everything I want to hear. Like, I'm like, that is so crazy. How do you know that? And I was like, it was just like so bizarre. Like, just because I knew I had to go to this place. I'm like, I don't want to go by myself.
Yeah, we haven't finished the mall story. Let's finish the mall story.
Okay, yeah. So I went to the mall store and I saw like these people selling the Beamer thing. So I was like hanging out with them, and then I saw Lynn, and I was like, okay, she's definitely high vibing. She's not like a regular, ordinary, like intuitive. She's definitely something. She has something about her. She was in Virginia Beach, so it was like crazy. And I called out the night before. I was in a situation again with a guy. It's always guys and me. One of these days I'm going to get my love life right. I'm the problem. I manifest it, but then I don't know. I screw it up, or I manifest the wrong guys. And so I was like, wow, I'm like, you're the reason I had to come here. I didn't even want to come here, but I prayed the night before. I'm like, help me out with the situation. I don't know what to do. I'm like, give me a sign, give me something. And so I went to her and she's like, yeah, it's probably not going to work out with this guy. But I'm like, no, it will. And I'm like, I always fight the power, I guess. But I don't know. I just felt comfortable with her and I started working with her and she helped me. And then at one point, I just kind of like, I love her and stuff, but I just kind of outgrew her. I'm like, you know what? I need to it's time to move on. Like you can only work with your gurus or your teachers or whatever, and so you just know, what, I'm like, now's the time to let it go. And that's another thing, because I have it again with the anxious attachment, you have a hard time letting go. So that was the process. I closed out that cycle and like learned to let it go. And, but yeah, it was beautiful. I was going through it and things. And then even last year I attracted another like healer from LinkedIn, how we met. He's like, went over my picture. He's like, you jumped out at me. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, your energy. He's like, you have no idea who you are. You are so powerful. He's like, you're one of the purest souls alive right now. You have so much love and the biggest heart. I was like, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, if you just knew your power, he's like, oh my God, girl. He's like, you're out here crying over these losers who aren't even worthy of you. And like, you're like the superstar. If you only just step into that. He's like, your guy is right there waiting for you, but you're too busy. You can't see it. I was like, wow. So like, and he sent me healing energy whenever I needed, like after the car accident. It's funny. I'm like, did you go on Facebook and search me? He's like, no. I'm like, how did you know I needed you? He's like, I find my people. And he's like this powerful healer. His story was amazing, how he just got touched by God. His hands just went on fire. And then he heals people. He's amazing. Wow. And so I just like this attracting thing. And again, it's being in the high vibration, being open to it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was my cool kind of experience with that whole spiritual side. And my whole awakening was kind of cool too. And my inspiration, again, my catalyst, or I guess develop, is like getting my heart ripped out of me. That's when I first opened to my gifts. I found out I was a healer. Like I do integrated energy therapy. Because when I went to one reader and she's like, you're really powerful. I'm like, she's like, you're a healer. I'm like, yeah, I heal people financially. Like I help them with their finance. She's like, no, you are super gifted. But she's like, go do something, but don't do Reiki. Everybody does that. Do a different healing modality. And then after I got certified and attuned, the first person I did it with was like this healer. And he's like, whoa. He's like, you're really strong. I'm like, really? I'm like, you felt that? He's like, yeah. He's like, you're really proud. I'm like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. Yeah. So I guess I still don't even own it fully. But I can see
I think I think we all get reminded of who we think we should be. Mm-hmm. Instead of just, doing our own selves.
Yeah. Cause everyone told us all these things, especially when it comes to dating. I'm like, I got to do this. I can't let them know I like them. And then I got to make them chase. I'm like, I just want to tell you, I like you and let's see how this goes. Like, why do you have to chase me? Why do I have to create interest? I'm like, this is crazy.
Well, I have two friends and one, it's working out. She was, I think this guy found her on Facebook dating. Mm-hmm. And she wanted a golfer. He had to play golf. He had to do this. He had to do that. So, she knew what she wanted, but, he asked her out to dinner. They go to dinner. She wouldn't have picked this guy out of 100 people. Mm-hmm. Not all the things wrong, but, just not what she had envisioned, but, he treats her well. And he's open, he's coachable.
Oh, that's good.
One of the things that she mentioned was, I really want somebody that plays golf. So like the next week he goes to buy golf clubs, he goes to practice, he hires an instructor. That's what you want, but you also want that person. And she's 50, I want to say she's 55 now. Mm-hmm. And he's a little older than her. And it's nice to have somebody. They're not changing, they're adding. And it was so funny, not funny, but it was heartwarming to hear this the other day. This was week before last. We drove to Kingwood from San Antonio. Really, we went to Houston, and it's a 3.5 hour drive. And she shared with Claudia and I one of the text messages that she got from this guy, because he has a son. So he has a son has a son. So him, his son, and his grandson, they all went and hit balls and played 9 holes together.
Oh, wow.
And they had really never like done anything together, because, country folks, we go fishing, we go hunting, we sit around on the porch and talk to each other. Mm-hmm. And, when you're in the big city and you're going and you're blowing, most of the time you don't have time to like connect with a certain interest. And so he sent her this very sweet text that, thank you for coming into our life and thank you for bringing golf into our family to where we can share time together. And I just thought that was great. And so I have another friend, she's got some issues, and she'll get anxiously attached to somebody. And I'm so glad that you gave me that definition of what she does.
But it all can be manifested away too. But then things come back because, again, you're not getting to the root cause. And I guess because you got to like really, I guess there's some blockages in me because I see my manifest, it works. I manifest things like that. And then I somehow get in my head, and then that's energy you're creating. Like everything is all energy, like money too. That's why people sometimes they get money and they lose it because they can't hold that vibration. So and again, it also comes down to like love, self-love. So it's just more than we love ourselves. It's better. So I got to just take my advice. I'm great at giving it to people, but they're like, my friends call me out. They're like, I'm like, guys, I literally wrote the book on manifestation. I think I know this. They're like, yeah, but you got to listen to yourself. I'm like, I love you guys. You call me out on my shit. Oh, sorry.
Okay. So I think we got off track just a little bit.
Sorry.
Let's talk about, and this happens all the time. Let's talk about how people come on board with you if they are trying to manifest more money.
Okay. Well, sometimes like they just want coaching. That seems like a block. I had one couple, they're like, we can't afford anything, but we do want this money coaching. We want you to help us get out of debt. So I said, okay, the program's $1,500. You'll get 3 sessions with me. We'll do the manifestation prayer, which usually they're going to get more than they ever paid for that back. And then I'll go through the money blocks quiz with them, find out what is holding them back, help them out. Like, do some yoga, nidra, some meditation, like listen to different meditations on clearing blocks. And you got to like it's like neuroscience. You got to change all those neural pathways and create new pathways and show them how to get into the vibration. So it's a whole little package. So that's what I'll do for those folks. And then people who are open now, I have some serious clients who are not into woo-woo stuff. So I just go traditional planner on them. Don't talk about that. But sometimes I get a sense, I'm like, are you open to something like this? And then they're like, yeah. So I'll help people, I'll do it with them. And that's all incorporated with their regular planning.
And I'll give you a little, I'll give you a hook. The first step with me is, once we decide that we're going to work together, I want them to write out how they envision their retirement life.
Okay. Oh, I like that.
And if they can't, like, if they're just like listing the things, they're not really being visual. Like I had one, he was a younger client. He was 36. He basically wrote out his entire business plan just in this visionary essay. And then we took out little parts, and then this is the part we're going to work on first. If they're just listing the things that they want, most of the time it's not going to work out in my experience. But if they can really paint that picture with their words, and then those words are read on a consistent, I wouldn't say daily basis, but maybe like every Sunday. My manifesting is every morning. Some people,
I did it right before this call to make sure this call went well.
There you go. And some people will do it every Sunday, because that's usually Sunday mornings is usually when people are alone, people are sleeping late, and so the other spouse can get up and do their own thing. And then they can read those words and just keep reminding and keep, and that's what it is. It's just manifesting. It's making your brain and aligning your energy with what it is that you want to achieve.
And then bringing the emotion behind it too, by seeing that too. So writing just one thing, like that's a list. There's no emotion. That's just automatic. You have to feel it and bring that yourself, like your whole self to it, and then let it go. That's the problem sometimes I have. Just let it go, and then boom, it just happens. There it is. Like you think about something, you get an answer, like you see something. It's just like, it's crazy. It's so cool.
And I hate to say this, but it is easy. Like once you get the feeling and the emotion and the energy and the vibration behind it, it's so easy.
But then our self-doubt and our negativity comes in, because we're like, we really get stuck in our past. Well, it hasn't worked out before. Oh boy. And so we bring like Joe Dispenza says, we bring our past into our future, and we can't do that. And then it's just, yeah, just so it is a fun journey. And but yeah, some people have more trouble in certain areas of life where others are just boom. Like you think things, it just happens. You make connections. Like yesterday, it's funny. Like I said, I had to go there. I actually picked up a prospect, and there was another prospect too. And I was like, whoa. I'm like, that wasn't even my intention. I was just told I need to go out here and meet people, and then look, these two clients I wasn't even asked. And that's another thing. I used to everyone I met, hey, this is my card. Let's get together. I can help you. And that was repelling people like, whoa,
Yep.
what the heck is happening here? So here I wasn't even leading with that. I said, yeah, I just wrote a book. And then they went to my website. They're like, oh, wow. And they, oh, you're a CFP. You do this? Like, oh, can you look at my stuff? And then the one guy too, because I have a big problem. Like, I guess I have to charge more. Like sometimes I feel bad charging.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm paying you. I'm going to give you your hourly rate, whatever it is. He's like, I just
Yeah.
want a second opinion and you're going to take my money. I'm like, oh, okay. Which also is kind of me putting out there last week. I was like, should I charge on top of everything else I'm doing? Should I? I'm like, I don't know. CFPs do that. Like, and then boom, here's an answer. The guy's like, I'm paying you. Like there was
you should charge for everything, in my opinion.
Well, I charge for AUM. We get paid commissions on life insurance annuities, and then to do the plan too. That's where I kind of struggled. Like, okay, do I charge to do a plan? Because if they work with me, then it's like I'm going to get paid this other way. But then still, it's like, well, sometimes people expect to pay you, and they find more value in it. So it's like, I guess
and
they're
invested because they've given up an asset. They've given up part of their income to gain knowledge, and so there needs to be an exchange for that, and they will become more involved in the information and with you, I believe, if you charge more. There's a colleague of mine, she got to a point in her business where she had to charge to get rid of the riffraff.
Get rid of people,
because I think the content that we can all put out, it needs to be tremendous value. Kerwin Ray down in Australia, he says give away 96% on social media, on your website, on YouTube, whatever. Give 96% of it away. Keep the 4% and charge $4 million for that 4%.
Nice. Yeah.
So that's what I think, and I think that also has to do with self-worth as well. So I went on we went on sabbatical, but I was still working. My wife actually left a major health hospital system and just wanted to make a change. And so we went traveling for almost a year.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I was still working, and I was like, that was my first foray into digital nomad, because I was literally working on my computer and I loved it. Didn't have an office, didn't have overhead. We had our Ford Expedition and our 2 dogs, and we were Airbnb everywhere.
Nice.
We did that for almost a year. And at that point, when we came back, I was like, okay, what is it that I really want my life to look like? And I was 45 at the time. And so I decided to basically just find me, self-discovery, all that. It took 5 years. I got away from the financial services game. I still had clients. I just wasn't doing anything. And so then I started teaching golf, because one of the things that I had not done was teach golf the way that I wanted to teach golf, because I was a professional tour player in my 20s and then was an amateur again, and then decided to teach because I'm an ENTP, I'm a high D. I think I can do it better than everybody else. And I did. But the thing about it is, and you said it earlier, was I was saying the same thing over and over and over again, because everybody who tries to master golf, they're trying to master golf through golf instead of trying to master themselves. And if they can master themselves, they can master anything. And so I was going through this self-mastery, self-discovery phase, and people wouldn't listen to me. And I just got totally frustrated. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to go back to the financial services game and share everything that I know about money, about manifesting money, about creating money, about building businesses, about helping people. And the self-worth part of actually charging, it makes people it makes people realize that they need to, that no one's going to give them anything for free.
Yeah.
And so that's why we all need to charge, because
Yeah.
we're all worth it. And at the end of my teaching career, which was 4.5 years, I was charging $225 an hour for golf lessons.
Yeah.
So why am I not going to charge the same thing for money coaching?
Yeah.
Exact same thing. So
yeah. And that's what I figured. I was like, okay, well, I get AUM fees and commissions, but it's like, well, yeah, then that's for that what you're doing, but then you're doing the plan. So, but if they have a lot of assets, then it's like, okay, I'll throw it in, because I had like one situation. I was like, I just had my gut was telling me like, this guy's not going to work with me because he has a lot of assets. He doesn't want to pay like a fee, which I reduced for him. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to waive the fee for you. And then I had an open conversation. That's another thing too, communication, because people are afraid of, I'm like, you know what? Can I just ask you a question? I'm like, I took it off the table. I'm not charging you, but like, can he's like, yeah, it was like, that was going to be a hurdle for me, but you also do have to, because you told me how you do get paid. So I was like, he's like, that would just be a hurdle right up front, because that's a big chunk to pay. So I was like, okay, so I read the room right. But he's like, yeah, if I wasn't going to work with you and give you my assets, then I'd have no problem paying that. But I didn't want to pay that in addition to everything else. I'm like, okay, well then, you know what? Every year going forward, I'll charge $1,000 because I still have to do continuing work. And he's like, yeah, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
So I guess it was good. So just having the conversation, like just putting it out there just to see how it's read. But I was like, because that was a big client and I could have lost him just over $3,000, which I'm going to make more than that. So I was like, okay, let me just see. But you are right. Like, so, because sometimes the people that waste our time, they just want our information and they never have any intention of doing business with us.
And that's why, now we can talk about marketing, because there's going to be colleagues of ours that are going to be watching this, and they try to be, and the people that reach out to me, it's like, how do you qualify people? And the way that you qualify people is they have to give you a substantial amount of information about themselves, because what are we doing? We're sharing we're sharing every little bit of ourselves in a public forum. And the other thing, the little side note, is that we don't know how many people that we're helping.
Yeah.
Because the likes and the shares and the retweets and whatever the hell, that is not an accurate number. And I think it gets 1,000 times more. And it was so funny. I'm at the grocery store the other day and I'm walking down the aisle and I hear Brandi Jo, and I turn around and it's a friend of mine, in the same circle here in the bubble. And he says, I really like what you're doing. He says, I listen to your podcasts. I watched the interview on YouTube that you did. And he says, I'm really looking forward to your TV show. He doesn't follow me, because I went back and I looked and I was like, dude, like, you don't like, you don't comment, you don't even hardly follow me. He's not on my email list.
Wow.
I'm like, that right there tells me that there are more eyes and there are more ears on what it is that we share than we really know.
I never thought of it like that. You're right. That's
because we're creating that ripple effect. It's just like money. You put money into a financial plan and into a system that we build for people. We know what is going to happen with that money going forward, give and take some assumptions. But if they change the plan, it creates this incredible ripple effect that sometimes you can't come back from.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why are you screwing up the system and the process? And it's because they want to see they want to see something happen.
Yeah.
And those are the people that you've got to disqualify as quickly as possible, because you can work with those kinds of people for 4 or 5 years. This is a personal story of mine. Work with people for 4 or 5 years, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, I want to stop doing this because a guy at work said something about something else, and I was like, man, I should have seen that coming.
Yeah. I tell people up front, like I'm reading with this one guy from Merrill Lynch. I'm like, listen, I don't pick stocks. I don't day trade. I'm like, I am boring. I'm going to get your risk tolerance up front. I'm going to build a low cost portfolio for that. And then I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to rebalance 4 times a year, not whenever all the other big companies are on the off months. And then if the market drops 30%, I'll rebalance again. but you're not going to call me and say, hey, Dawn, I got this hot tip. What do you think about this? I'm like, no, because that's not what I do. I'm like, I'm here to help people build long-term wealth. I'm like, it's not get rich quick, because I don't do that. So if you're okay with that, like, this is how I work. So,
and it's the relationship that we're trying to help them build with their own money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can go gamble with your own stuff, but not on my money that I'm handling for you. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, I'm keeping it boring. But it works. It's boring. It's simple. I'm like, you're gonna have a lot of free time on your hands.
But make sure if they are gambling, which I have a couple of gamblers, they're professional gamblers. One guy won the World Series of Poker. I need to make sure that no matter what stupid crap I pull on the tables, that I'm going to be okay, my wife is going to be okay, and my 3 kids are going to be okay. And that's my job for him. And he makes a living playing
poker. Yeah. Yeah. So it's not like he's betting his whole life savings.
You talk about
he does as a professional, but people they'll bet their whole life savings.
Right.
I had one client, we'll probably disagree on this, but another California client, she's like, I want to be in crypto. I'm like, no, I don't touch that. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm a fiduciary. I'm not even touching, my license won't even let me.
Educated. Then that's all I share, because I'm like, and I'm conservative in my politics and in my belief system. I'm like up and to the right.
Yeah.
With all of this.
Nice.
Tinfoil cap, the whole deal.
Yeah. So.
All right, Diane, this has been fun.
Oh, Dawn.
I want you to come back.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
once a quarter.
Yeah, this is great. I love this.
Yeah. Do you have a podcast you want to share with everybody, like where they can find you?
Let's see. I did have a YouTube channel. I occasionally post on there. And my website, and then you could also go to Amazon and buy my book. The book is also on my website. It's dsfinancialstrategies.com. If you hold your camera up to this Q code, it takes you right to my website. You can follow me on social media, either Dawn Santoriello or DS Financial Strategies.
Sorry,
I'm on
I've
Facebook.
been calling you Diane because
I'm
sorry. Because I'm looking at my next interview and her name is Diane.
It's okay. You're close enough. And like Instagram, LinkedIn. Yeah, you'll find, just Google me. Everything will come up.
And where are you?
I'm located in the Philadelphia area. I'm in Yardley, Pennsylvania, right in Bucks County. So, and everyone, please go buy my book, because I'm still in launch week. I'm trying to keep getting up in the ranks. We did hit #1 bestseller last week, and I want to continue it for this week. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to buy the book right now. I'm going to buy both of them.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right.
And thank you for having me. It was a pleasure being on here.
Thank you, Dawn. All right. We'll see you real soon. We'll see you back.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Bye now.
Thanks for listening to The Brandi Jo Show. You can find out more on her website, brandijonewman.com.